Taking a peek at the steering wheel as well as, I guess, the cluster screen inside of the Lincoln Nautilus. Now this is going to be for the 2024 Plus model, and I gotta say, I love the new look and layout. So I mean, obviously the big glaring thing is going to be the steering wheel itself. Rather than a completely rounded wheel, it's more of like a flat top, flat bottom steering wheel instead. It does take a little bit to get used to it, but once you do, it is a really nice feel. You can see even from the basic design elements there. So just in behind, you can kind of see my fingers kind of moving there. So it's not fully connected throughout the pads here either, which is neat. But one thing to point out, steering wheel will be heated. You can toggle it on through there if you want to. So there's the button there you could use, or you can use the voice command prompt. Turn on the heated steering wheel.
Got it. Turning on the steering wheel heater.
So you can have it so that it'll automatically turn on the steering wheel heater. You can do things like turn on your heated ventilated seats and adjust climate and things like that. It is really neat. But the heat is all the way around. The steering wheel in this thing is going to be a power telescoping. So just by your left knee, there's a little switch there. So you can go forwards, backwards, up and down with it to find and create that perfect position for you. And once you've got your steering wheel set up, you've got your side view mirrors set up, and even your seat, there's a series of different modes along the side there. So you can select one of the 3 unique profiles to set it up for you, which is amazing. Stick on the left-hand side is going to be for your high beams. One thing about the high beams, can you see? Yeah, you can see it there. So they're not permanently locking out. And the reason why is by your left knee, there's a little toggle switch to jump between different modes. So right now I'm in the auto mode. And what that means is that if the vehicle recognizes that needs the high beams on, it'll automatically turn them on. If there's a car oncoming, it's going to dim them before bringing them right back up again. But if you wanted to permanently lock your high beams on, you're just going to flip out of that mode. You're going to then just push away in order to have your high beams lock on permanently if you wanted to. And just back down again. But it's very straightforward there. Stick along the right-hand side. It's going to be for your wipers. So front wipers, adjust the speed. And then there's a button on the tip of the stick there in order to adjust your rear windshield wipers as well. You're going to pull in towards you for the front wiper fluid, and you're going to push away in order to get the rear wiper fluid going. I love the look here. Now, one thing that you might notice is that there aren't really many highlighted buttons here. But one really, really neat thing is that this pad here, so it kind of does like a double function. So you could just drag your finger around in order to be able to move between different screens. Hold on, I got to show you this. This is really neat. Okay, so we'll go more of like a bird's eye like point of view here. So this is really cool. All right. So you can move yourself around this way instead if you wanted to, and that's going to move you between all of the available options there. So you turn the cruise control on if you want to, and then from there, you could adjust this way so you can kind of move it around this way if you want, resume, back out, and then you've got different button options there. So I love the new look and layout, so you can kind of drag your finger around there if you want to, or just push whatever buttons you want. So this is kind of neat because you can see what you're highlighting as you go. But the buttons there are obviously not all showing because we've got different systems. So I'm going to zoom you in there. It works the same way for this side too. So this side is going to be for volume and tuning and things like that. So I'll get to that one in just a second. So let's start off with a pad on this side. So let's get you in there a little bit tighter. And here we go. So starting off, you've got your adaptive cruise control system. So the adaptive cruise is the set it and forget it cruise. So you can move it to the side there and now push in order to adjust if you're going to be closer or farther away from the vehicle in front of you. So it's how close or far away do you want to be. Really neat. You can also cancel out of that if you want to. Once you get up to speed, you can then set, and then you can either increase or decrease 1 kilometer or 1 mile per hour at a time. And that's by going up and down this way instead. You can then just toggle off if you'd like to. And then there's the lane keeping system, which works the same 3 ways as it did last year. So first way is that if you start to veer over into a lane without signaling, it's either going to nudge the steering wheel, it's going to shake the steering wheel, or it's going to do a mixture of both, just depending on how you have it set up through the infotainment system. But that's the basics of this pad. Like, there's not really too much to it. It's going to take a little bit of getting used to for people, but I mean, the look there is really good. And you can see which systems are turned on, turned off, because you've got a little notification along the very top there. And then the pad on this side, this is going to be for your volume and then a few other things. So you could change between songs and stations this way if you were listening to AM, FM, Sirius XM. So let's actually go through. Let's go to AM right now. So if you wanted to, you could change between all of your individual presets if you had any set up. You can also do a press and hold there in order to be able to seek to different stations. So actually to show you that one, so you're doing just a press and hold there, and you can see that seeking you between different stations. And then you can also increase, decrease the volume that way as well. From there, there's a voice command prompt, and that's going to let you do things like change songs, radio stations. You can navigate using your voice. You can, as you saw earlier, turn on your heated steering wheel and so many other things using your voice now. It's really, really neat. But moving back into the cluster screen, some other highlights to point out. So along the very top, you've got your current fuel level in a few different ways. So how many kilometers or miles till empty, what your current fuel level is, if the auto start stop system is toggled on or off, and that's just done in the center stack, and then if the driver's got their seatbelt put on or not. From there, I did mention you've also got your lane keeping system, lane follow assist system, your digital speed there, and then you've also got your speed sign recognition. So if they had a posted speed limit, that would show up there as well. Kind of revving it a little bit, but there isn't a standard tachometer inside of this thing, so it's just going to be that digital speedometer. So this cluster screen here is going to be locked in place, so there's no adjusting that whatsoever. Shifting up to this one though, it's a dynamic map instead. So the map there is going to depend on if you're just using the factory maps, which the factory maps now are actually going to be Google Maps, which is amazing. So you could use the maps this way if you'd like to. So it's kind of showing up in both areas, which is neat. You can search for addresses, previous destinations, and things like that. So let's say if we go to, actually, look at Yorkdale Ford. So you can see there it shows up on both screens, but it is really neat. Now, one thing is that this screen is also dynamic in the sense that if you're not hooked up through Android Auto or Apple CarPlay running maps that way, it'll just run through Google Maps, which are set up through the car now, because this is the new Google Android OS, which, I mean, it is a beautiful system. You'll find a full walkthrough down in the description though. But through this, if you've got Android Auto or Apple CarPlay hooked up, you could then use Google Maps, Apple Maps, or Waze through your phone, and it'll show up right on this screen. As you can see along the side there, it's kind of faded out along the side, but when you're hooked up through your phone, it's going to be a tight box instead. Tight box, that's what she said. And then from there, you've got your basic map set up, but I mean, that's straightforward. You can cancel out of the route there, and then you've just got your full map, but I love the way that looks. You've got your gears selector, so your park, reverse, neutral, drive, your current engine temperature, the outside temperature, what direction you're facing, and then your current. Yeah, that's so cool. I just love it. It's like one big thing is that this thing doesn't have a head-up display, but you don't need a head-up display because this is your head-up display instead. But whereas a squirrel. So you've got your current odometer off to the side there. So how many kilometers or miles have you currently traveled, which is really neat. But one other unique thing is that as you shift out into reverse, rather than it coming up through the infotainment system, it is fully heads up so you can see what's going on around you. And then from there, you've got your full 360 view along the side that we're looking at. You can do the same as always. So you've got your backup view, your backup split 180 view there as well, back to 360. And that works the same if you just go into your 360 camera. So you've got that front-facing view. You can go full front or that split view instead. But I prefer just sticking into that 360 view. And then you can zoom in to individual spots there too if you wanted. Really neat. Back up, and then as you saw there, certain things are kind of shown and hidden as you go. So there are parts of this 48-inch screen that are fully customizable. So this part of the screen is customized through the infotainment system. There's a little button along the very bottom there, so you're going to push that, and that essentially widgetizes the 3 individual areas. And then from there, you can select each one. So you can have 3 individual settings there, but it's which one do you prefer? Like, do you want to have your trip counter there instead of tire pressure? You can just overwrite it that way. You want to have your clock there instead of audio? You can do that. Same idea. If you wanted to just kind of do a drag and drop again, and then once you're happy with whatever setup you've got, you push off in order to be able to lock yourself into whatever thing you've set up there. You can also go into a calming screen instead. Oh, that is so nice. Look at that. Nice. Turn off calming mode, and that just brings things back again. And then, as I mentioned, if you wanted to kind of adjust fuel economy, tire pressure, whatever the case may be, so you can overwrite these things. But it's really neat what's available here. I love what Lincoln's done with the interior of the new Nautilus here, but no, that's a little bit of info, nothing too wild, but that's what you need to know about the steering wheel, as well as part of that, well, I guess technically the full 48-inch screen inside of the new Nautilus.